Hi everyone, welcome to Cohen's Kitchen. Halloween is coming, so for today's video I'm going to share with you guys how I make the ghost meringue and the monster matcha custard bun. Every time I make the meringue, I'm left with the question of what to do with the remaining egg yolks. Of course it's wasteful to throw them away. One of the ways of using them is to make something with custard. That's why for today's video I'm including also the recipe for the custard bun that you can make while making the ghost meringue. Then you will have two Halloween themed food that you can enjoy and celebrate the occasion with. One from the west and one from the east. How great is that? So let's start with the ghost meringue first.
The ingredients of the meringue include 2 egg whites, approximately 140 grams of sugar, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1/8 teaspoon of cream of tartar, 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 30 grams of dark chocolate. Basically, the egg white to sugar ratio should be 1 to 2 by weight. You can also replace the sugar with icing sugar, which dissolves easier when you beat the meringue. Now, to make it, first separate the egg whites and the yolks. I usually crack the egg and put the white into a small bowl first, so that just in case the yolk breaks and leaks out in the process, it would not ruin the rest of the egg white. Meanwhile, save the yolk in another bowl for the custard later or for other uses if you prefer something else. Repeat the process with the second egg. Now you have 2 egg whites in the mixing bowl. Take note on the weight of the egg whites and measure in a separate bowl sugar that is double the weight of the egg white. In this video, the egg white weighs 71 grams, so I measure 142 grams of sugar. Now, add in the cream of tartar and start beating the egg white on low speed with an electric mixer or stand mixer if you have it. Beat it until the egg white starts to foam up nicely and that you can still see some small bubbles. Then gradually add in the sugar and continue beating on a medium-high speed. It will start to become thick and glossy. Do not worry too much about overbeating. The cream of tartar stabilizes the egg white, and as a result, it takes a longer time for the meringue to peak. When it's about done, say the soft peak here, add in the salt and the vanilla extract to add flavor. Then beat it to stiff peak. Let's say, touch wood, that you overbeat and the egg white starts to flatten. You can add a teaspoon of cornstarch and whisk it for a few seconds to combine. This can rescue the situation and your meringue will still come out looking fine at the end. Now you have the French meringue. Transfer the meringue into a piping bag with a round nozzle. If you don't have them, you can always just put the meringue into a resealable bag, cut a corner of the bag and then pipe from there. Now, pipe the meringue onto a baking tray that's lined with baking paper. First pipe some meringue at the 4 corners so that the baking paper will stick onto the tray. Then start piping the ghost meringue. Gently squeeze the piping bag to push the meringue out. You can stop and push a bit midway to create the waste. When you pull away, it will naturally leave a pointed end. Basically, you are making some taller kisses. You may experiment a little bit with your piping to create ghostly hands as well. After you piped all the ghost meringues, put it into the oven at the lowest temperature, which should be approximately 70 to 80 degrees Celsius. Meringue needs to be baked at a low temperature for a long time, otherwise it will brown easily. Depending on the size of your ghost meringue, it may take from 45 minutes to an hour or more. The meringue is done when you can lift it up from the baking paper easily. However, do not take them out immediately when it's done. Turn off the oven and let the meringue cool down gradually in the oven. Any sudden change of temperature can crack your meringue. Of course, unless you prefer a cracking ghost for the Halloween theme, which could still work in my opinion. After it's cooled, melt the dark chocolate over a water bath on stove. When you're ready to decorate the ghost meringue, I recommend using just a toothpick to paint the 2 eyes and the mouth. Now you have the ghost meringues. For the monster matcha custard bun, you can make 15 of them with this recipe. The ingredients of the custard include 2 egg yolks, 100 ml of milk, 50 grams of sugar, 40 grams of unsalted butter, 1 gram of salt, and 30 grams of cake flour. For the dough, the ingredients include 300 grams of plain flour, 20 ml of vegetable oil, 2 grams of dry yeast, 180 ml of water, 3 grams of baking powder, 8 to 10 grams of matcha powder, and 5 to 7 grams of cocoa powder. Baking powder is optional to improve the texture. Matcha powder and cocoa powder are mostly for coloring, and they add extra flavor as well. I generally don't like to use food coloring, but feel free to replace the matcha and the cocoa powder with green and black food colorings respectively, if you prefer so. Now, make the custard first. If you're making it with the ghost meringue, you can begin this step once you put the meringue into the oven. Weigh the ingredients for the custard. Sift flour. Mix them together and cook it over low-medium heat in a saucepan. You can do all the steps in the saucepan as I did here. Keep stirring until it becomes a paste. Then, transfer the custard into a bowl and cover it with a cling film that touches the surface of the custard. Let the custard cool down in the fridge for at least 1 hour. While the custard is cooling, weigh and mix the plain flour, vegetable oil, dry yeast, and water in a mixing bowl. Include also the baking powder if you have it. Note that it is baking powder and you cannot substitute it with baking soda. When the ingredients are incorporated, tip the dough out onto a generously floured work surface and continue kneading until the surface of the dough is smooth. Then, color the dough to make the monster design. Depending on your design, reserve 1/4 to 1/3 of the dough and then fold the rest with matcha powder. I recommend reserving 1/3, which is what I did in this video, just to ensure that you have enough for various designs. Add in the powder a few grams at a time until it reaches the color that you want. Then divide the green dough into 15 portions. Each should weigh around 23 grams or more. After that, cover them with a cling film to prevent them from drying out. For the reserved dough, further cut 1/4 to 1/3 of it out, and this time, fold this small bit of dough with the cocoa powder. After that, cover them with a cling film as well to prevent them from drying out. In this video, I'm again reserving 1/3 to be safe. Now you're ready to assemble the pieces, and the custard should have cooled down by then. First, divide the custard into 15 portions. You may roll them into balls first if you like. Then flatten each portion of the green dough into a round disc. It will be your canvas for the design. For example, if you want to make a large eye in the center, then make a smaller disc of white dough and an even smaller disc of brown dough. Put the brown disc on top of the white disc and then on top of the green disc. Gently press around the edges to combine. You will then have a disc of dough that has a thicker center, which is important so that the bun does not break while steaming. Now flip the disc over and put in one portion of the custard in the center. Gently wrap around the edges and pinch to seal the custard filling. Now turn it around so that the eye now faces upwards again. You can repeat the step for the same design. Alternatively, you can also have more smaller eyes on a bun by putting several smaller white and brown discs on top of a green disc. You can also roll a long thin strip of brown dough and make the mouth of the monster. Regardless of the design, please try to make the center of the disc thicker so that when the bun expands, it will not break. Note that you don't have to use all the dough, so it is okay if you have some left behind. Also, dust the work surface with flour if the dough is too sticky to handle. After you prepare all the buns, cut squares of baking paper and put beneath each of them. Then you can steam the buns. As you can see here, I don't have a bamboo steamer, so I have to be creative and wrap a sheet of aluminum foil over a plate and punch some holes to prevent the condensation from drenching the buns. If you also don't have a bamboo steamer, you may try this method too. After you arrange the buns onto the plate, put them into the steaming pot when the water is still cold, then heat up the water to boil. Once you see steam coming out of the pot, change the medium heat and steam for another 12 minutes. After that, do not leave the lid. Just turn off the heat and wait for 10 minutes to let the buns cool down inside. If you take them out immediately, the buns will shrink and you will have wrinkling buns. Also, if your pot is not large enough and you need to steam several batches like me, you can put the second batch in immediately after you take the first batch out. It is because when you're waiting for the first batch to be done, the remaining batches continue to proof outside already. Now you have the ghost meringue and the monster matcha custard bun. I'm opening the bun here so you can see the inside. As for the ghost meringue, it has a crispy outside that holds nicely.
Thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed this video. Try the 2 recipes and double the fun this Halloween. Comment down below and let me know what you think about my recipes and your experience of making them. Or just tell me what you make for this Halloween. Please also like and subscribe to this channel for more cooking or baking videos in the future. See you next time in Cohen's Kitchen.